All right, the last thing we have to look at when we look at dividing radicals is what's called conjugates. Okay, and so we're going to look at, so far, all we've looked at is when we divide radicals that there's only one term in the denominator. But in this example, so we have 7 divided by 2 minus the square root of 3. Okay, um, and so it's a little bit different in that, yeah, we have two terms down here. There's two terms in our denominator. So what we're going to do, we're still going to multiply by what we call that convenient form of 1, okay? And so we're going to have our numerator and denominator. It's still going to be the same thing on top and on bottom. And we're actually going to keep the terms, so 2 and the square root of 3, exactly the same. And then instead of subtracting, we're just going to always flip the sign. So since this was a subtraction sign, we're going to make it an addition sign here. Okay. So when we go ahead and do this, again, when we multiply fractions, we multiply the numerator times the numerator, and then our denominator times our denominator. So the 7 we can distribute to both terms. So 7 times 2 would be 14, and then plus 7 times the square root of 3. Now, when we do the bottom, we have two terms, or a binomial, times another two terms. So we're actually going to have to FOIL this. So our first terms, we're going to get 2 times 2 is 4. Our outside terms, 2 times the positive square root of 3. I'm just going to write it like that. And then our inside terms, here, well, that's negative 2 times the square root of 3. I'm just taking this negative sign. Don't forget that. That negative sign is going to go with it. And then finally, we have the negative square root of 3 for our last terms, the negative square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which is just minus 3. So if we look at our denominator, something should jump out at you that's really nice. We have a positive 2 times the square root of 3 and a negative 2 times the square root of 3. Turns out that's the middle terms are always going to cancel each other out. So I want you to still show the work, but know that in the back of your head. Okay? And then finally, we're just left with 4 minus 3, okay? Or 1 as our denominator. So your final answer would be 14 plus 7 times the square root of 3, okay? Our big idea, just like when we were dividing radicals before, is that we need to multiply by a convenient form of 1. In this case, we picked 2 plus the square root of 3. We kept the terms from our denominator. Remember, this was our original denominator over here. We kept those terms the same, and then we just flipped the sign. From there, it was simply multiplying, and so we had to distribute and also FOIL. So that's conjugates in a nutshell. Conjugates being the same two terms with a different sign in there. Since it was a subtraction sign originally, we made it an addition sign.